Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. On Thursday, President Trump was arrested at the Fulton County Jail. This was another dark day in American history, but Republicans are also starting to fight back. On the same day of President Trump's arrest, the U.S. House Judiciary Committee announced that it was investigating the motives of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis for prosecuting President Trump. The first Republican primary debate is now over. The situation was different from what analysts predicted, so who was the big winner of the debate besides President Trump? Due to the previous year's pandemic control policies and the leftist management style, a number of financial firms moved to the south. The biggest losers were New York City and California. The unexpected death of Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group, reported by Western media, has made Russian President Vladimir Putin the number one suspect, but Putin broke his silence and he expressed his condolences over Prigozhin's tragic fate. Okay, let's get into it. President Trump traveled to Atlanta on Thursday to turn himself in for the Georgia election indictment. He revealed early that he would be arrested at 7:30 p.m. at the Fulton County Jail. In a brief speech before boarding his plane on Thursday night, President Trump called his arrest a very sad day for the United States.
Thank you very much for being here. I really believe this is a very sad day for America. This should never happen. If you challenge an election, you should be able to challenge an election.
He reiterated that he has done nothing wrong and that many Democrats had done similar things.
I should have every right to do that. As you know, you have many people that you've been watching over the years do the same thing, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Stacey Abrams or many others. When you have that great freedom to challenge, you have to be able to, otherwise you could have very dishonest elections. What has taken place here is a travesty of justice. We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And everybody knows it.
At the same time, President Trump said that these election interferences are helping him win more support.
I've never had such support, and that goes with the other ones too. What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election. There's never been anything like it in our country before. This is their way of campaigning. And this is one instance, but you have three other instances. It's election interference. So I want to thank you for being here. We did nothing wrong at all, and we have every right, every single right, to challenge an election that we think is dishonest, that we think it's very dishonest.
At 7:40 p.m., the Trump motorcade arrived at the Fulton County Jail. At approximately 7:46, President Trump was arrested at the Fulton County Jail, and he was booked this time. So they took his mugshot, which may become one of the most famous photos in history. At about 7:50, the jail records show that President Trump was released on bail just minutes after entering the Fulton County Jail. And then President Trump returned to Twitter last night. The first post he tweeted was his mugshot with a caption that reads, "Election interference, never surrender." Elon Musk chimed in on the post, calling it next level. Under the U.S. justice system, an indictment is not a conviction. A defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty and convicted in court. President Trump and his top advisors briefly met with his new attorney, Stephen Sadow, on a private jet after arriving in Atlanta. Sadow will be the lead attorney in the Georgia indictment. Attorneys for the indicted co-defendant, Kenneth Chesebro, filed a motion for a speedy trial. Subsequently, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, the prosecutor in the case, recommended that all 19 defendants in the case be tried on October 23rd. President Trump expressed his opposition during the day on Thursday for setting the trial in October. President Trump's lawyers asked that this case be separated from that of his co-defendants who are asking for a speedy trial. The House Judiciary Committee is investigating the motives of District Attorney Fani Willis of Fulton County, Georgia, in her indictment of President Trump. On Thursday, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan released a letter publicly announcing the investigation. Jordan wrote, "Your indictment and prosecution implicate substantial federal interests, and the circumstances surrounding your actions raise serious concerns about whether they are politically motivated." In the letter, Jordan mentioned Willis, highlighting her accusations against President Trump at past fundraisers. He said, "It is noteworthy that just 4 days before this indictment, you launched a new campaign fundraising website that highlighted your investigation into President Trump. The timing of this prosecution reinforces concerns about your motivation. Willis directed her office to open an investigation into President Trump in February of 2021. But only now, 2.5 years later, are charges being filed. That's because it's the beginning of the Republican presidential primary. Jordan also said in the letter to Willis, "Yet you did not bring charges until 2.5 years later, at a time when the campaign for the Republican presidential nomination is in full swing. Moreover, you have requested that the trial in this manner begin on March 4th, 2024, the day before Super Tuesday and 8 days before the Georgia presidential primary. It is therefore unsurprising many have speculated that this indictment and prosecution are designed to interfere with the 2024 presidential election." The letter also mentions that the indictment appears to attempt to use state criminal law to regulate the conduct of federal officials who are acting in their official capacities, and that it criminalizes under Georgia law certain speech of federal officers, including the president, that is protected by the First Amendment. Willis previously denied having any contact with Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith, but Jordan cited media news reports that indicated Willis utilized many of the same witnesses and material as Jack Smith. Jordan's letter also stated, "The House Committee on the Judiciary, the committee, thus may investigate whether federal law enforcement agencies or officials were involved in your investigation or indictment. It may also investigate whether the DOJ raised any concerns about how your investigation impacted federal interests, and if so, whether and how those concerns were resolved." The committee requested that the district attorney's office turn over all documents relating to its use of federal funds, correspondence with the Department of Justice or its components, and any records of cooperation with executive branch officials. Jordan requested that Willis respond to his request no later than 10 a.m. on September 7th, 2023. President Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson on Wednesday got approximately 245 million views within the first 24 hours after it was released. Meanwhile, only 11.1 million people watched the first Republican presidential primary debate. This statistic also illustrates the decline of television. 8 years ago, in 2015, 24 million viewers tuned into the first Republican debate, which was a historic number. It also shows the appeal of the combination of President Trump and Tucker Carlson. This year's first Republican debate on TV drew only about 5% of the amount that President Trump and Tucker Carlson drew on Twitter. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich published an opinion piece titled "Debate Night Winners and Losers." In his article, he argues that President Trump is the absolute winner. Gingrich said he avoided being the immediate target of 8 other people, which he would have been if he had been on stage, yet President Trump created a bigger impact. The other big winner was Vivek Ramaswamy. The fact that Ramaswamy was the most attacked candidate in the debates also shows that his rivals feel threatened by him. Although he is the youngest and the least politically experienced, his rise ensures that most candidates will have to focus on stopping his momentum. And the fact that his positions are similar to President Trump's, and he's very friendly with President Trump, all of those elements paint a bright target on Vivek's back. Ramaswamy was the first candidate to raise his hand when Brett Baier asked candidates if they would still support President Trump as the party nominee if he were convicted in court. And guess who was the last person to raise their hand?
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
Perhaps this attack is what the young bio-entrepreneur was expecting. From the beginning, Vivek has claimed to speak the truth. He is not politically correct. On issues such as foreign policy and climate change, Ramaswamy has been bombarded by many of his opponents. Among the most notable opponents are Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, and Chris Christie. Christie likened the dynamic millennial generation Vivek to ChatGPT. Meanwhile, Pence dismissed Ramaswamy as a rookie, and Haley accused him of not supporting America's allies. During the exchange, Ramaswamy asserted that her position makes Haley a friend of the military-industrial complex. He wished her well in her future career on the board of Lockheed and Raytheon. Ramaswamy said, "Let's just speak the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact." Vivek's conclusion drew cheers from the room. He also argued that Christie's crusade against his one-time boss was motivated by revenge and resentment. Christie was very pro-Trump in 2016, but he has since turned into a hardline opponent of President Trump. In the interview with Tucker Carlson, President Trump explained the reason behind this change. After his successful campaign in 2016, President Trump did not place Chris Christie in a satisfactory position because he did not think the former governor was a good fit. And this made Christie feel hurt. Christie responded to Vivek's comment by saying, "You make me laugh." It was immediately drowned out by boos from the audience. Even President Trump thanked Ramaswamy on Truth Social for his line. President Trump wrote, "This answer gave Vivek Ramaswamy a big win in the debate because of a thing called truth. Thank you, Vivek." The fact that Ramaswamy has taken the limelight over Ron DeSantis is somewhat of a surprise to the industry. Ramaswamy emphasized his promise to pardon President Trump on day one as president, and he challenged Mike Pence to commit to doing the same. Pence responded by saying, "That's the difference between you and me. I've actually given pardons when I was governor of the state of Indiana. It usually follows a finding of guilt and contrition by the individual that's been convicted." Even though President Trump was not on the debate stage, his influence was always there. Many well-informed observers speculated that while each candidate says that they are running to win the race, some of them, such as Haley, Scott, and others, are really just vying for the vice presidential candidate position. Nigel Farage, the former leader of the UK Brexit Party, told the Epoch Times in an interview before the debate that the event was almost a beauty contest for the vice presidential candidate. As base voter loyalty to President Trump grows with each new indictment, it seems increasingly difficult for President Trump to be overturned as the nominee. The Epoch Times wrote, "If nothing else, the debate showed that a future Trump-free Republican Party might not belong to those such as Ms. Haley, Mr. Pence, Mr. Scott, or even Mr. DeSantis. The biggest moment of the night belonged to Mr. Ramaswamy's GOP." Before I move on, I want to take a moment to thank you all for your support of Front Page. Every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you, but please double check to make sure that you are still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. Okay, let's get back into it. Over the past few years, the financial industry has been pulling out of New York and California. After reviewing corporate filings for more than 17,000 companies since the end of 2019, Bloomberg calculated that the two states have each lost companies managing nearly $1 trillion in assets over the past 3 years. While the New York area remains the strongest asset management center, the South is now booming also. Miami's housing prices are soaring, and new office buildings are being developed. In Dallas, the financial sector is expanding at the fastest pace since the oil bust of the 1980s. Florida is the top destination for companies leaving New York. Palm Beach is home to 37 companies compared to 63 in the much larger Miami. Florida also added 800 new secondary offices, which is more than any other state. Notable examples include Icon Capital Management, RAK Investment Management, and Citadel. Alliance Bernstein moved to Nashville, and Charles Schwab moved to urban Dallas. Russian President Vladimir Putin broke his silence on Thursday. Western media reported that Putin expressed his condolences over the plane crash that killed Yevgeny Prigozhin, who was the head of the mercenary organization, the Wagner Group. Putin claimed that Prigozhin had made mistakes, but he also had made achievements. The previous day's crash had killed all 10 people on board, 3 of whom were crew members. Of the other 7 passengers, 6 of them were important figures in the Wagner Group. Dmitry Yukin was Wagner's most famous figure besides Prigozhin. He is believed to have been Prigozhin's close lieutenant when Wagner was founded. Another person, Valery Chekalov, served as Prigozhin's deputy in Wagner, and he was in charge of the organization's security services. Last month, he was targeted by the United States for acting on behalf of Prigozhin and for facilitating the delivery of ammunition to Russia. There were also 2 bodyguards who were presumed by some Russian sources to be Prigozhin's bodyguards. Russia's state-run Interfax News reported that the remains of all 10 people have been recovered. Putin said, "First of all, I want to express my sincere condolences to the families of all of the victims. This is always a tragedy." Speaking about Prigozhin, Putin said that he'd known the Wagner chief for a very long time and that he was a talented man, a talented businessman. He was a man of difficult fate and he made serious mistakes in life and he achieved the results needed both for himself and when I asked him about it for a common cause as in these last months. The cause of the crash is still under investigation, but no evidence has been presented that points to the involvement of the Kremlin or Russian security services in the crash. Russian investigators have opened a probe into what happened. Putin assured that it would be a thorough investigation. Putin said it will be carried out in full and brought to completion. Putin remarked that the Wagner members who died in the crash shared a common philosophy and they made a significant contribution to Russia's offensive in Ukraine in liberating Russians in the Donbass region. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. We've also heard from many of our viewers that they don't get notifications of our videos anymore from YouTube. So please follow us on Telegram, Gab, Getter, True Social, Twitter, and on Ganjing World for the latest updates. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.